All right, beloved, we are back with a special edition of It's the Mail with me, Jimmy Page Turner. This edition is special for a couple of reasons, which we will touch on as we proceed. Now, we have 7 email that came in. That's the most we've ever had. We had 7 email come in since Bill finished Season 2, Episode 7 of Gold Coast After Dark, which was the conclusion of a fragile thing that can only exist where fragile things are loved, the unintended sequel to After Halloween. So let's get started here. First one. This comes in and this says, I teach contemporary literature at a respected community college just down the road from Mr. Parker's hometown. Now that would be Calumet City, Illinois. Area code 60, that's the zip code, 60409. The area code was 312, though that may have changed. Area codes seem to have become fluid over time. Anyway, he continues, and he says, knowing Mr. Parker eschews personal appearances, would he consent to a Zoom meeting with my classes to discuss both After Halloween and a fragile thing that can only exist where fragile things are loved? Sincerely, Thomas T. Oswald. Well, Mr. Oswald, let me tell you one first. Thank you for writing. Thank you for the offer. And it is true, as you say, Bill eschews personal appearances. That's a lovely word, eschews. Personal appearances. Now, we were up last night, me and Bill, and we were talking about this. We were going over these things because sometimes there's information that he has that I don't have, and that makes it difficult for me to answer questions. So I got to ask him. So I asked him, I said, Bill, would you consider doing a Zoom meeting for Mr. Oswald's class? And he said, oh, Jimmy, no, I would not. But I will not leave it there. And he went on to explain. He said, you tell Mr. Oswald from me, with all due respect, that if his contemporary literature class wants to talk to an author, they should talk to a real author. Writing a book does not make one an author. Writing a lot of books does not make one an author, any more than being able to pound a nail in straight with a hammer makes one a carpenter. So please give him my regards and tell him that his classes would be much better served by talking to someone who really knew what they were doing. Because I am really just a word machine. And there you have it. That is what Bill said, word for word, straight from the horse's mouth. I'm sure you can find a real author to talk to, maybe even to talk about Bill's books. How about that? All right, well, thank you for writing in. Now, second email came in. How soon can we expect to see a third season of Gold Coast After Dark now that the loose ends from season 1 have been tied up? And this is from the ghost of Mike Franks. Mike Franks, you will recall, is one of Bill's favorite characters from long ago episodes of NCIS. He was Leroy Jethro Gibbs' first supervisor and his mentor for the longest time. And Mike did not like loose ends. So, to the best of my knowledge, there is not going to be a season number 3 of Gold Coast After Dark. Bill already wrote a book called Gold Coast After Dark. As you know, you've seen it every time we opened the show. He holds it up. And I also know that the original run of Gold Coast After Dark videos were for his grandson Jax back in Fort Worth. And that the reason he did season 2 is because he made what may have been a tactical error in mentioning the fact that there was an unintended sequel to After Halloween. And once you open that door, you can't close it again. So that's why he did it. He did it to tie up those loose ends. To the best of my knowledge, he has no intention of a season 3. But time brings change, and we are all changeable people because we are human. Bill changes as much as anybody. Well, I don't know, he doesn't really, but he can and does from time to time. So at this moment, I would have to say, from all indications, there will be no season 3. Bill knowing when to stop and having completed his mission. But who can say for sure? So, Ghost of Mike Franks, I hope that answers your question. The third email that came in, it says, and this is as I said, this is a special edition of It's the Mail. And this is one of the reasons that makes it special. This is when we get people who stay with the program and write in religiously. And this is one of those letters. It says, I didn't understand the ending of season 2, episode 7. All BP did was stop, blow out a couple candles, hold up a copy of Gold Coast After Dark. He didn't say anything, not even thank you or goodbye. I thought that was rather rude. Is there anyone out there who is with me on this issue? And that's signed by none other than Little Bobby Sue. This is the third email we got from a Little Bobby Sue. Welcome, as always, to It's the Mail with me, Jimmy Page Turner. Well, Little Bobby Sue, let me tell you something about Bill, who I have known a long time. Bill sometimes does things, he can be, as you look at it and you try to figure, well, I wouldn't have done something like that. Why is he doing it? The reason Bill does these things, he doesn't do it with any great purpose. He doesn't sit around scheming things to do to upset people or confuse them. But what I have learned in my time, in our association, is that Bill can be as puzzling as a Sphinx or as inscrutable as a Chinaman in a snowstorm. He just does things. He doesn't mean anybody any harm. He just does things. So, Little Bobby Sue, I'm certainly sorry that you were upset, but I am glad that you felt comfortable enough with everyone here at It's the Mail to write in and tell us of your concerns. Okay, now we got to take a little break because there's some messages that come in and nobody here knows what they are. We are not tech savvy people around here. You know, I mean, we can barely turn our computers on. So there have been what appear to be a number of comments that have come in on the YouTube site, all of which include the letters FYI, like for your information. Maybe it's some kind of link, I don't know, but we don't know what they are. So, to those who have written in, there are several. To those who have written in, please do not think that we are ignoring you. We just don't know what to do with that thing. If you would, please write back. And please just use the regular comment section. Write in whatever you have to say. If we have to, we will hold another special edition of It's a Mail to cover your concerns. So again, I do apologize, but we're a bit behind the times around here. All right. Now, this is email number 4. And this came in, and this says, what is that? What? Who is the character known as Dennis, the twinkly-eyed saxophonist, modeled after? And this is signed C.L. Hardy. Well, C.L., let me tell you, bud. It's modeled after Dennis. I mean, who else would it be modeled after? Granted, Dennis may only be over there in the Belvers. And so maybe as such he doesn't appear here with us, but to my knowledge, Dennis is Dennis. You didn't model him after anybody. I mean, he's the guy who plays saxophone in the forest. And I asked him, just in case, is there anything I need to know about this Dennis? Anything you can tell me? Bill just said, nope. So I guess that's it. Dennis is Dennis. So, CL, I'm sorry I could not have anything better than that. Some hard news for you and a name or image of some kind to relate to. But to the best of my knowledge, Dennis is Dennis. There is no one he is modeled on. Okay? All right, now, here we go. Number 5. Number 5 says, what can you tell us about the underlying symbolism of the choice of instruments after Halloween and a fragile thing that can only exist where fragile things are loved? And this is yours truly, Mike the Metaphor. Mike, first off, we're not quite sure what a metaphor is around here. You know, I mean, we probably use them all the time. We don't know it. We don't think like that. We don't go around thinking, I'll just roll out a metaphor, whatever a metaphor is. We don't do that. We don't think like that here. Like I said, we're not tech savvy. And there's a lot of words we don't use, don't come into play, although we may use them all the time. But as far as the underlying symbolism, well, what would you expect the underlying symbolism to be? Guy plays saxophone, other man plays a flute. There's no symbolism there. I mean, one might as well play a Jew's harp and the other a 4-string banjo, a replica from the American Civil War. Or kazoo. I don't know. There's nothing to it, man. It could be anything. You're looking too deeply here. Like Bill says, as has been pointed out, he's not a real clever kind of guy. He's just sort of a word machine. He likes to write. He puts things out. He knows lots of words. He's got a wonderful imagination. He's got the Bill verse, and he's got here. He's got different worlds even to live in than we do. But somehow, thinking about underlying symbolism does not come into it. I think you are over-intellectualizing the issue. And I don't mean that in a cruel way. I'm just saying you can't make too much of these things. Sometimes Things simply are what they appear to be. Not always. Sometimes. So, Mike, the metaphor, again, I wish I could answer that question to your satisfaction, which I am sure I did not do. That's the way it goes sometimes. All right, now email number 6. It says, hold on here, I can't even hardly read this thing. I enjoyed after Halloween, and a fragile thing that can only exist where fragile things are loved. I would like to read more of BP's books. Well, thank you. He would be glad to hear that. Any recommendations as to what I should read next? Signed sincerely, Paul Baumer. Paul, let me tell you, first off, has anyone ever pointed out that your name is the same as that of the main character in the famous anti-war book, All Quiet on the Western Front? Indeed it is. So from now on, I would suggest, just for maybe a way of personal amusement, when you go to introduce somebody or to yourself, or somebody introduces you to somebody else, and they say, well, this is Paul Baumer, you could say, well, not the Paul Baumer, in case they are much steeped in German literature between the wars. Or, with a certain amount of pride, you could say, I am the Paul Baumer. And I said, what about that guy in that book? He said, oh, forget about him. That's just a book. Could have called him anything. Could have called him Fritz, because he's German. So, Paul. Now, to get back to your question, I asked Bill about this too, because this is something that comes up in conversation. Um, as pointed out, Bill is just a word machine. He likes to write. That's why he writes. He writes because he enjoys writing. And he can't really recommend them to anybody. He likes some of his books better than others. But I tell you, if you ask him about a particular book, well, what did you mean in that book? He can't tell you. He doesn't know what he wrote 2 years ago. He may not even know what he wrote a year ago. He just churns them out because he is, by his own admission, a word machine. So I suppose it would depend what sort of thing you're looking for. Bill has written on many subjects. However, the only thing I could recommend is that you look up his books, look up his name, look up his books. And there's always a synopsis written by Bill himself for every one of his books. And that'll give you some idea of what each book is about. And hopefully from there you can make an educated decision that will meet with your satisfaction. But other than that, I cannot. Bill himself could not and would not recommend something for you because he just doesn't know. Everybody's different. Everybody likes different things. And you may like one book of his and then rush out and say, well, I need 3 more of BP's books because they are so good. And yet, when those books come in, you may think, oh, what's happened here? I just threw away my money. I guess it all depends on what books you get. So that would be my suggestion. That's a decision you have to make for yourself. All right? Best of luck, Paul. All right, now we have one last email. And I said this is a very special edition for a number of reasons. Like I said, well, first and foremost, this may be the last ever version of It's the Mail with me, Jimmy Page Turner. And if it is, I will be sorry to say goodbye to the show. I have enjoyed this. I have enjoyed reading and responding to your email. Another reason is special, as I point out, when people write in more than once, such as in the case of Little Bobby Sue, But now here's one, and this is one we're going to close out with, so it is a very fitting letter. This one, it comes in, and this is a young man whose mother first wrote in to us on the eve of his 13th birthday and wanted to know if Bill would make a personal appearance. And unfortunately, we had to let him down because Bill does not make personal appearances. But we gave good reason for it, as I'm sure anybody who saw that edition of It's the Mail would agree. So this email comes not from the mother, but from the boy himself. It says, Dear Jimmy, now that season 2 of Gold Coast After Dark is over, what is BP doing? And it is signed, your friend Raymond. You remember Raymond? Of course you do. I remember Raymond. Well, Raymond, we're going to make this a special because it's the last email. So it's going to be special for another reason. You want to know what BP's doing now? Right now? I don't know. But I tell you what, I got a cell phone. Let's call him up and find out. Hold on now. We just found out right here. Hey, yes, Jim. Hey, look, babe, what are you doing right this minute? Well, I got an email for someone who would like to know what you're doing right now. Well, come on, it's Raymond. You remember Raymond? That's right. That's right. Raymond, who wanted you to come to his 13th birthday party. He wrote in and he wanted to know what BP is doing. And I said, well, let's find out, Raymond. And so I gave you a call. So tell me, what are you doing right now? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. All right, babe, thanks. I will let him know. And thank you for your part today in It's the Mail with me, Jimmy Page Turner. Bye-bye. Well, Raymond, your pal and mine, without whom neither of us would be here sharing this moment, the Venerable BP, tells me that right now, at this moment, he is thinking of a cheeseburger with grilled onions and crinkle cut french fries that he had when he was a freshman in high school at the little restaurant across the railroad tracks from K&R Music in Hammond, Indiana. There you have it. You asked, and I provided for you. That's what we do here. That's what we always try to do. So, all right, well, that's it. We are done until the next time. So, thank you all again for your participation here at It's the Mail with me, Jimmy Page Turner. And maybe we'll see you somewhere down the road.